Okay, our laboratory.
You know, when we first walked in, it's like this home was very small, closed off, many rooms. The ceiling was like 8 feet.
For us, it was really important to actually convey this character through images.
Welcome.
Hi audience, thank you so much for coming in.
Melling Studio is a Vancouver-based interior design firm led by founder and creative director Laura Melling. The studio voice is calm, curious, and collaborative, and with more than 15 years behind them, they move easily between residential, multifamily, and commercial work.
Before we start, could you please just tell us a little bit more about the Houlihan project and the story behind it?
Yeah, so the Houlihan project is a private residential home in Victoria in the Gordon Head neighborhood. We were approached by our clients last year. They had found this like original mid-century modern home, forest in the background, kind of coastal ocean views in the front, and they really wanted to reimagine it and see what we could do. It was interesting because we had just, as a team, been to Modernism Week in Palm Springs, and our cups were full of inspiration. We did all these house tours and saw all these like original details and material points of like touch points and stuff. And I remember thinking, oh, wouldn't it be amazing to somehow manifest a mid-century kind of coastal modern home in BC? And then a few months later, this project presented itself. So manifestation happens. So yeah, the clients came to us. They had purchased the project. They didn't yet have possession, and we just jumped into the design process with them.
Could you please walk us a little bit more through your process? It would be really nice to know.
Yeah, so we have a pretty established design process with different phases. We always start with our discovery phase, where we start to just get to know our client's lifestyle, understand their values, what they like, what they don't like. It was really nice on this project because the client, it was a young family. So we started to get to know the family a little bit more. What we started with in our kind of next phase, of which we call schematic, was to really dive into floor plan analysis. This home, it was very spacious, but it was very small, closed off, many rooms. And when we first walked in, it's like it has this beautiful pitched open roof in the living room and these like massive windows. But then in the dining room and the kitchen, which are kind of the mirror to the living room, the ceiling was like 8 feet, really, really dark, very dated fixtures and finishes. So we started to investigate how can we open up this main floor and really embrace some of the characteristics in the home. And what resulted was a very open plan, living, dining room, and kitchen with a lot of custom millwork. So when we started to think about materiality for this project, one element that really stood out to us is a BC granite called Cascade Coral. Granite we kind of associate with this very like 80s, 90s, like very dark and moody vibe. And a few years ago, I encountered this material that was quarried in BC, so it was local. And it just has this like beautiful palette, like very light and airy. And then it also has these like bigger chunks in it that are almost reminiscent of like a terrazzo. We started to explore how we could infuse this into the home. It has this original detailing. It still felt really dark, even though there was this natural light that was coming in. So we really tried to bring in a much lighter natural palette. We worked a lot with white oak for the hardwood flooring and into the millwork. When we think about materiality, we really like a sense of continuity through a home. Not that every room has to be the same, but I think from a felt experience as humans, when there's this thread of cohesion through materials, we feel more calm and at ease in our spaces. And I think that's really important in our homes. The entry was one of the places that we incorporated the granite. So we did, in this key plan, we show it in a smaller format, but we ended up working with the stone company and we did really large format slab kind of tiles in the entry. You can kind of get a sense here in the 3D. And then in the kitchen, we did a really chunky countertop, and then the granite wraps up to a point like just under where the hood fan goes, and then we had the stack of wall sconces and kind of an asymmetrical detail because we had no uppers on this elevation to really lean into like the line of the original roof line. So we did open shelving on one side, like a plaster lime wash on the hood fan, and then metal luminaire authentic sconces on the other.
My other natural question at this stage would be, when did you understand or realize that you probably would like to bring in renderings into the process?
I had this very strong kind of feeling of how the space could feel. And we had just started to do that floor plan analysis, start to think about materiality. And then all of a sudden we didn't have as many people on our team. And we had a few times where we'd started to chat and start to explore the process together of how renderings could influence our design process. And so it felt challenging as it was from like a team and a leadership perspective. It also just felt like this very natural opportunity to, okay, now's the time. Like, let's try this out. So we came to you with probably an unrealistic timeline, but with so much gratitude and promised to be very clear in our direction.
Yeah.
It was a way to lean into collaboration and trust and really see how the visualization process could start to bring and embody this space, like bring it to life. And it's funny because I didn't tell the clients we were going to do this. It was a case study. And it was also, an investment that Melling Studio was intentionally making to kind of just reimagine our process of design. And so I remember walking into that meeting and showing the clients this presentation with these just gorgeous renderings of some of these key zones, like the kitchen, their primary bathroom, the entry. And they had no idea. They were so surprised, so thrilled. And it was just so special to be able to show that to them and really give them a sense of this is how it will feel, this is how it will look. And to kind of complete that loop, a few weeks ago when we were doing our post-occupancy walkthrough, the client said it feels like the renderings, like the real experience of this space feels like the visualization of it, which was that's so meaningful, right?
Yes. It's actually one of the most fun things I love about my work is that we actually give this opportunity to kind of like slightly see the future, right? You can see it, you can envision it, and know what you're gonna get even before you go through the entire process.
Yeah, and I think it was really helpful for, I needed a trusted collaborator to like develop the project. And through that collaboration, we worked through different options, and that really started to help to bring it to life and see, okay, this is kind of how these different things are going to start to play and work together. And now I'm addicted. I don't want to do it any other way.
When you just shared this project for the first time and you told me the story behind it, when I saw the drawings and the specs, that really reflects your studio personality and everything. Like I could tell it's Melling's work, but the style, the openness, the location, the windows, everything together, the cohesion between all of the premises. It was not just beautiful, but it had this soul and this character that needed to be conveyed through the images. And that was one of our main goals as a team, not just to produce technically accurate stuff, but actually to translate your vision into the images that everybody sees. It's not the easiest project because of a lot of custom millwork, custom details, lighting, a lot of different wood types, and we need to make sure it looks like all cohesive and correct because it's very nuanced. And we didn't have a lot of photographs of the space back in the day. I remember showing them to you, and I remember how happy you were. You were just over the moon, and I was like, okay, we're good. Everybody is happy. Happy Friday.
Totally.
When we start doing something, sometimes as a result, we get something that is not expected. But is there anything you didn't expect going on into collaboration, but got it in the end?
Collaboration is just like embedded in our DNA of Melling Studio.
Yes.
I really firmly believe that there's this energy, creativity, and so much that just gets that comes together when we can co-create something. This process of doing the visualization for Houlihan was kind of this glimpse into this new way of our process and how rendering could kind of be a part of that. And you don't know how else you can do it until you just kind of take a leap and do it. And now I can't imagine any other way. The other thing that, sometimes goes unsaid is sometimes we finish a project and we don't have the opportunity to photograph it. Sometimes it's maybe budget related. Sometimes it's timeline related. Sometimes there's so many different factors that are beyond our control. And now, because we invest in the rendering process much earlier on, we're making selections of furniture, we're doing art direction and curating what the accessories and the
Yes.
artwork are going to be. And that gives us a very tangible asset that it protects us just in case we can't take photos. Now we want to do it. We want to do that for all projects. Probably a lot sooner than we typically, like historically, we would have been involved in the rendering process at a later point, often driven by kind of a development client from a marketing perspective. And this pivot to the kind of interior design and the visualization collaboration so much earlier, like when we're actually designing, it's very powerful. It influences our process. It's iterative. It's really incredible.
It's interesting because with you, we kind of explore this way of collaborating with design team to make the images even more design oriented, not only the like potential viewer and marketing, but it's so like design oriented. And what you actually showed us, the timely feedback you gave us, the so precise, no vague comments, everything was so amazing, on time, and it's really rare for the industry, to be honest. And you showed us how this process can be done. So now we have really high standards. But I'm being honest, I told you many times that just the entire process was so collaborative and trusting that actually was helpful to achieve us what we have been doing.
It's very vulnerable to do creative work. And when we can feel safe and like resourced, and that comes up it comes up in timeline, it comes up in feedback. But when we feel that way, then we can do our best work. Yes. So whenever we, whether it's collaborating with other teams or with clients, like we really try and kind of bring that to life, because creative work doesn't come from a place of burnout or scarcity or fear. It comes from feeling safe, feeling supported, and feeling abundant. So
yes,
we really try and kind of bring that to...
Just to bring a little bit more on your point, is the true collaboration happens when all of the players are in the same team, not on the opposite teams. That sometimes happens, and we are not here to fight. We're here to fight on the same team for the same idea. That is something that was really helpful throughout the process that we have.
I think we've worked with so many rendering studios over the years, and what I could perceive with 8station from when I, first was exposed to your portfolio was this very artful, very curatorial perspective. What you end up with is not just this like 3D tool. It's a piece of art, and we're working together to co-create that. It's really meaningful, and it's also just like immensely helpful for the process of working with clients, right? That's how it will feel. So
it's interesting that you brought it up, because when you're creating design, you kind of like embodying and giving the life to the idea. You put the why into the interior or the architecture. You have this idea behind it, and then in the end, a lot of ideas die, unfortunately, not because they're bad, but because they were not shown in the proper way.
Yeah.
And this is something we fight for, because we don't want to do all bright dentist studio office.
Totally.
Every interior has its soul, and we need to make sure we show it the way it should be shown. So this is something we fight for. Do you think we have a focus?
I hope so.
Hello.